Hey, this is Pierre Delacote working at Planet Technologies. Digital transformation journey. I wanted to talk about this topic a little bit. I shot another video where I explain this infographic, so I'm not going to explain again what are the different layers of digital transformation. Most of customers are only doing the first layer, deploying technology, and the second layer, learning how to use the technology and forget about the rest. And definitely digital transformation is not just adoption. But here my talk is how do you succeed in digital transformation? And I want to explain the methodology, the organizational change management methodology I'm using to try to succeed in that journey. So first, the first thing to do is to assess, discover, name it how you want it, and to probably define what is the gap or identify what is the gap analysis between where you are and when you want to go. So the assessment is key, and to do that, you start first. I start first with some workshop, with a scope of change workshop, where I try to identify the difference, the gap between where you are today and when you want to bring your end users tomorrow. Also define the purpose of the change so everybody can see what is the vision, the global vision, and you can refer to this vision during the project so people can understand, even when they're struggling, that is there's a bigger purpose than just a little change that you're facing, or the big change you're facing. It's for a global purpose. They also connected to the purpose, what is the goal of this change, and that's key to define what is the context of the decision, what is the environment. You're changing technology, so what is the global environment? You're switching to Teams, but do you have a good sense of what your people were doing before Teams, and are they equipped with the headsets? Do they all have web camera and the microphone? You don't realize sometimes that you're missing some points, and you're deploying Teams, and you realize that people don't have them a camera or a microphone on their computer. The needs. What are the needs from the end users? What are the expectations? Are there maybe they don't know what they don't know, but knowing how they work, you better understand what are the needs and how the future technology can change your life, so you can anticipate what is beneficial, what's in it for me. Also, you can envision where the resistance is and potentially what are the future benefits, the opportunities. So to do that, to do the assessment, you do several workshops, but also when you want to have the feedback from the end users, and definitely it's very valuable to get the feedback from the end users because if you only rely on the IT team, you might have a bias. You might not see everything that people can, you know, feel or how they work, where they're struggling, what are their pains. So you can collect this feedback by through two different kind of activities. The first one is to do interviews with a set of personas. So the personas are people who are representing your workforce. So you try to um, interview those personas and gather some information. So I have my own framework to, and I shot a video on what is my framework for that. But also you can do a digital survey. So having interviews, you scoping not a lot of people depending on the size of your organization. It can vary between 10 and 50 interviews, and you can use a digital survey and expand the scope of the in a way that kind of interview with a digital survey. You don't have really the storytelling, so you cannot really react to what people are answering. So the way I structure my digital survey, there are closed questions, open-ended questions, so we can have a sense of what they're doing today and where they're struggling, and collect some verbatim too at the same time. And then we can start to strategize the vision and to build the vision, uh, maybe prioritize the benefits. So prioritizing the benefits is usually if it's new technology, you can showcase the new technology and ask end users, a set of end users, key users to react to what you're showing, to what you show to them, and make them prioritize what is the most beneficial for them in their job. So you can then strategize the communication and focus on what is really beneficial, and also reassure where they don't feel comfortable, and you can build also the readiness for that. So you build your OCM plan, you build the communication, just the the training that are needed, that is needed, the maybe eventually the content, eventually some learning platform that you want to provide, and also you try to identify what is the governance you want to put in place, what people can do and what people can't do, what are the rules to use this new technology. For example, in Teams, you want to know if you want to um, provide a self-service environment where everybody can create a team, or if you want to have some control or all the control, what kind of control, who can create a team, and so on. And finally, during the strategy phase, you want to identify what are your success criteria, so you're able to adjust in the future. So assess, strategize, and then you start to execute your plan. So you have a plan and you start to execute. The best way to me to execute a plan is to have a champions program to scale the change. So not only you can scale the change through a champions team, champions community, but also you can translate, what they can translate what they learned from what's new in the technology and what is the governance into their own words, into their own job, into their own role, into their own day-to-day work. So they translate what I say is they translate technology into use cases. And then you communicate, eventually you train, you help people learn, you help them to ramp up their different options that you identify during the strategize phase. Will you do office hours, uh, lunch and learns? Um, you know, there different activities you can put in place depending on your culture and where you want to go. And then you need to measure, because it's not digital transformation is the journey. It's not just going from one point to point A to point B. Is to be able to measure regarding the KPI you define. Is your plan working well? What is the adoption? How people are using the technology? So there's some data that you can collect. Are people training themselves, or are they learning? Are they satisfied? Are they changing the way they work? What is the impact on people? What are their use cases? What are their best practices? And through that, you can re-energize your plan and, for example, sharing success and eventually failures, because some people might fail to use the technology, and sharing that with a broad audience, for example, with champions. Other champions can say, okay, we encounter the same problem, but here how we found a solution to tackle this problem. So sharing experience is really key, and also you can uh, incent the the people who are sharing their experience, and by rewarding them, because for example being a champion takes time, so you need to probably reward in a way that the champions are spending some time to help other people to ramp up and to better understand, better leverage the technology, and also sharing their experience with other business unit departments. So I think also it's important to reward learning, because learning is key in a digital transformation journey. Digital skills are key today, and a lot of people are not really skilled enough to face the changes that are coming to the cloud, because it's constant change. So you need to be in a mind spirit where you want to learn all the time, and you're not uh, you don't you're not submissive to change, and because if you're submissive to change, you will experiment change fatigue, But if you train your muscle to learn, it will become an habit, just like a routine. So I think it's really key to re-energize that way, and eventually rethink your strategy. Sometimes you have a plan and it's working well with one business unit and not working well with another. So rethink your strategy. If you measure what's not working well and why, you can rethink your strategy, adjust your strategy, and maybe switch from strategy to tactics. And that's a way, for example, you can rely on the business unit that are very successful and showcase what they're doing. So and little by little, just like with the bell curve, you reach to a chasm, and people will follow what's successful. So that's in a nutshell the methodology I'm using. Sometimes I'm not using it all, depending on the customer will, but here's a global methodology that I used, and when you use that, you're in a good path to succeed in your digital transformation. So I want to share two last slides, um, just to give some perspective on the digital transformation path. To me, there's a big digital transformation today in the digital workplace, which is around collaboration. Uh, in the previous era, it was an industrial era, when and I I like to say in this era, when you share a product, you divide it. So everything was focused on process, product, and people productivity. So it was focused on the productivity, trying to enhance productivity. And now you can see that we are in a new era, and you can see the CEO priorities are not in productivity. It's more around alignment. So I will call this the new era. We're in the collaboration era. And because when you share knowledge, contrary to product, you multiply it. So sharing knowledge is really key. So the way to learn is not to learn by yourself. You need to learn by yourself because you need to practice by yourself. But you learn even better when you have a role model or when you learn in a group, in a community, sharing experience. So it's more focused on people and some process because probably you're going to change the way you work and the knowledge you get out of it. So as I like to say, it's a focus on collaborativity compared to productivity. So think about it. It's really the collaboration era is totally new paradigm. Even if we could do collaboration for several years, but now having a complete environment where everything is in central place like Teams, it's even more important. And finally, my last slide is not very nice to look at. Sorry, I'm not a designer. But when you look at, um, it's some sort of anthropology of digital world. At the beginning, there were PC, then email, intranet. Um, Everything was centered around people knowing it all, so learning everything that worked on a computer. The skill that was focused on knowing everything, and it was not simple, but pretty simple to understand how a PC, email, and internet works. But then, it opened to more knowledge with more, you know, more new services, new components like social network. And I think the social network came after, a few years after, because people, they were exposed to a lot of information and they didn't know. For example, it's hard to know when you're exposed to a lot of information that you cannot know it all. It's harder to understand it, so you need other people to help you, and you need some social connection. So people can weigh on things, weigh on knowledge. What is really important? In reality, for the consumer social networks, it can be a bad thing because people can weigh on bad thing. But when you think about social network within an organization, it's different, totally different. You don't really you not only react to what is creating the buzz, but what is really valuable for people. And then it expanded to new collaboration environment. So today, I think we're in the middle of the collaboration transformation, um, and we need to other people to help us, and so social network is more to share ideas and brainstorm together. But when it comes to help people, it's just like the difference between Yammer and Teams. Yammer is nice to have some conversation around, some knowledge and brainstorming and maybe some communication. But when you have to do the job, when you have to act, when you have to, you're working on a project, you need to assemble a team, work together, collaborate on the same documents, be aligned. Then it comes to teams. You need teams. You cannot do that in Yammer. So individuals need others to help them to do their job. It's really rare to have some job, especially in a digital workplace, that are solitary, where you can do everything without any help, without any insight, without any connection with other people. And I think in the future, and we'll start to see that there will be more and more AI, and because AI can do a lot of complex things really quickly, more quickly than people. So we start to see AI helping us, for example, to find, um, uh, you know, a time slot to have a meeting with a lot of people. You have more and more AI that helps you to find out what is trending in your environment, what are the last communication you had, and what are the documents that are potentially connected to those conversations. So it will help you to follow your work and find some help in automation like AI. So that's really the to me the knowledge is expanding. It's just like the universe. The more you discover, the more there is to discover. So you need more and more help. First, you need help from people. Then you need some automation with AI. So it's not the end. It's probably going to change a lot in the future. But I like the Lao Tzu quote: "The more you know, the less you understand." That's typically true. And the more I learn, the less I realize I know. That's Socrates. So I think those two quotes um, summarize very well where we are, and we're really entering in an era, and we're not entering. We're deep dive in this era where there's more and more information, more and more complexity, more and more velocity, and you need to adjust very quickly in an unknown world. So you need to take risk, and you need to learn fast, and you need to learn fast and small chunk of knowledge rather than knowing it all and being able to be an expert. So an expert nowadays is not somebody who knows it all. It's probably more a person that connects people and is able to find a solution. So that was my pitch around digital transformation journey and the methodology I'm using to help our customer to transform in this journey. Hope it was helpful.